3 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. Welcome everybody. Today is Wednesday, August 27th. This is our regular monthly meeting, the Hutchinson Utilities Commission. Agenda item 1 is to declare any conflicts of interest by any of the commissioners today.
Nope.
None.
Hearing none, we'll move on to item 2, which is to approve the consent agenda, approve the minutes, and ratify the payment of bills. Was there anything anybody needed to pull out of there?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Don, second by Kathy. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Item 3 is to approve the financial statements.
Yeah, thank you. I'll just touch on kind of a few things. Obviously, we had another pretty good month in July. Obviously, electric usage was up. Obviously, it was hot and humid, and so we were up about 9.6% over last year. So I'd say that maybe it's a little bit higher than a typical July, but certainly better than last 2024. I'd say we're usually around 25, 26 million kilowatt hours in July. So we took a hair above that this year. Same with gas. We were up a little bit on the gas side. So really year to date on the electric side, as far as what I had budgeted for kilowatt hours, we're just tracking a hair below budget, through July. Usually we're about 58% through the budget. We're up just under 57%, but we're tracking fairly close. One of just kind of a thing from a reminder standpoint, when you look at the large general class and industrial class, you can see how those percentages may be off. If you recall, we did have one customer that moved out of the industrial class to the large general. So just wanted to make sure I reminded you guys that if you were looking at how we're tracking the budget, you'll see that'll be skewed the rest of the year just because of that customer moving between classes. Highlighted the market sales. I've touched on that a few times, not only in our monthly meeting, some of our notes. We had another good month in July of market sales. So really through July of this year, we've had just over $2.5 million in market sales. And as I look through August of this month, August 2026, we've had another $761,000 in market sales. So as of today, we're over 3.3 million in market sales. That's as high as I think since I've been here. 2024, we had only 840,000 in market sales, in which we had our generator result, so that was a huge issue. 2023 was pretty good. We had 1.1 million in market sales, and then we had another 846,000 in sales to Dynasty. So we were just under 2 million in total, that's say wholesale sales are. So you can see where we're at 3.3 million this year. It's been a significantly good year as far as selling power back in the market. Obviously, we touched a little bit on that, just kind of set you guys some information that the northern MISO region, resource adequacy, seasonal resources, things are a little tighter. So we've seen consistent elevated market pricing. You can obviously certainly see as we buy power off the market, our average cost of buying off the market is higher than what it has been as well. But we've been able to leverage a lot of our generation this year for that, so it's put us in a better position on the electric side from what we've been. Actually showing a profit this year, which we typically don't on the electric side when you look at it, when you had depreciation, so most of them on net income, so we're sitting pretty well there. On the gas side, we're sitting well, so for the first time in probably a while, we look at a lot of our key performance indicators. Most of them are green. Usually we have a good mix of, we're kind of on the border and some reds in there, especially with net income on the electric side. So one of our better years on both sides, probably in the last 6 or 7 years since I've been here. So we're moving in the right direction. Obviously the market's helped that. So hopefully, we'll certainly continue it through August this month, and then we're going to be getting into the shoulder months, and we'll see how September or October goes. But typically our market sales start to fall off because it's cooler weather, less load, air conditioning demand, and some of that commercial demand goes off, and so you start to see a reduction in the pricing. So we may get some market sales, but it won't be nearly what it has been. So just kind of keep that in mind as we get into the shoulder months here in the fall. Otherwise, just really on the balance sheet, both rate stabilization funds are maxed out. We've hit both the ceiling on the electric side and gas side. That's the first time I think that's happened since I've been here, 11 years. So we've got money back in the rate stabilization funds for there. We've been giving back pretty significant credits on the gas side. I think this last month it was $3 in MCF. So that's the biggest one I've seen. We've had some $1, $1.50, and some 2s, but we hardly had any gas costs because of the blending that we're doing on our natural gas side of things. So we've been giving back significant credits on the gas side. We're at almost 600,000 in credits back this year. I think I budgeted 900, so we're probably gonna be close to providing that amount of money back to the customers. And we're really in a position on the electric side for the first time that it's conceivable, depending on where we're going to fall, that we could be giving some credits back on the electric side too, which I don't know if any of you guys have ever been on the board well, but we're giving back a credit on the electric side, so we're positioned well to do that. We'll see how the next couple months go as far as power supply costs and things like that. But sitting pretty well on the balance sheet. And then on the investment side, just reiterating that as you kind of look at the bar graphs, you can see that a lot of our investments have been maturing. I think I have another $500,000 this week and another $500,000 in the next week or two. So I'm leaving them, at least on the Wells Fargo side, in the money market right now to keep liquidity there because we're going to have some large payments coming up here later in this year. So you can see that we used to have a lot weighted on the back end of the maturity schedule, with most of it's now on the front end. And that's intentional so that we're not having to get into issues with not having cash available to do those things. So Jared and I have been in contact and have been looking at our bank accounts and looking at our investments. And on the other investment side of things with Cetera, that money we're pulling into our savings account because we're not getting a lot of interest earnings on the money market in Cetera's. I think that's at 0.7%. Whereas the Wells Fargo money market that they use is just under 4%, so that's commensurate with our bank. So we'll leave that in the money market as well. But on the Cetera side, we'll pull that into our accounts and maximize earnings where we can on the idle cash. That's liquid. Other than that, is there any questions or anything you guys saw that you wanted to touch on or had any questions on in the financials?
No, it's just a lot of good news, and it's a testament to you and your staff.
Yeah. You guys have worked in on
Programs.
keeping the generation going, so
Yeah.
that's been really good.
It's fantastic. Thank you.
Gas prices have been low too, you know, they're surprisingly with elevated market prices, a lot of times the gas price falls that, but it's consistently in the $2.60 range, $2.70, $2.80, so.
It's refreshing to see when most of the news articles you read around the country about how high electric prices are and how it's really hampering people around the country, and you guys have done a really good job insulating everyone from that here.
Mhm.
Thank you. That's been good. That's what I got on the financials.
Can you make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the financial statements.
Motion by Kathy.
Second.
Second by Troy. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Financial statements are approved. Item 4 is open forum. I don't see any new guests today. We'll move into communication. A, City Administrator. Hi, Matt.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Street project should wrap up this week on Dale Street. Hopefully, by the end of the week, that will open up. And then we've been dealing with quite a bit of development interest in the city. So last night, the council approved a conditional use permit for data center on Fifth Avenue. Jeremy's kept you guys up with that, so that process is moving along. Assuming everything goes well in our next council meeting, we could be seeing dirt move at the landing project, which is the downtown apartment complex. That's 81 unit facility. Last night the council also approved the concept plan for the old Burns Manor site. That's 144 apartment units that are looking to go up there. So, and we've had a preliminary plat submitted on another development on the north side of town. So a lot of housing development that's going on, which is great.
Good.
Well,
Fantastic.
that's it.
All right, thanks, Matt. We'll go into divisions.
Nothing today.
Nothing, Dan?
We just completed a pretty good, large reconductor project up on Texas Avenue. Got some old conductor up there, worked on that. We're installing the new Elk Ridge Estates development on Edmonton Avenue. We started that on Tuesday, yesterday. Probably take about 2 weeks to get that electric in. We're doing a joint trench with phone company and the cable company, so we're all gonna go together. So that's been working really well. And Saturday, we're doing our annual 3M shutdown for Labor Day weekend, so we'll be there Saturday morning, shutting them down for, this year, I think they're only gonna do 1 day shutdown as far as the full facility. So we'll work with them on Saturday on that. That's it.
Okay.
Nothing today.
Well, I'm here this month not to ask for additional money. So that's a plus.
You've been going good so
First
far.
month on record.
That's good.
To go along with what Dave said, we're also working at the Elkridge development. 3 AM shutdown Labor Day weekend, we'll be there as well. We've had 2 cool nights, and so now everybody's afraid that fall's coming, so they want to get all their work done, so hopefully the project's coming through. I don't know if you guys have heard, but we have a river crossing project going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming along pretty well. We actually did cross the river today with the board, and so fingers crossed, everything has gone pretty smooth so far. We're hoping to pull the pipe tomorrow across the river, so it should be completed. The pipe pulling will be completed tomorrow, hopefully. So it'd be nice to get that underground for Labor Day weekend and out of arm's way for the weekend.
Sure.
And that's it.
All right, thank you. We go to 5C Human Resources. Angie.
Continuing to work with our insurance broker on the paid family medical leave, trying to get that settled with what kind of percentage we can get here at the utilities. And then with that, then working with our union attorney as well, union force, and getting our MOA written up and finalized, and then that'll be coming to you guys as well when we have that. And then benefits are right around the corner, so I'm gonna start working on that as well.
All right, thank you, Angie. Legal.
Nothing
All right.
today.
Nothing today. Back to you, Jeremy.
Just a couple things, if you guys had a chance to read through some of the business update I gave you guys. As Matt mentioned, they approved that data center conditional use permit last night, so I had sent you some draft agreements of the stuff that would come in front of you for formal consideration, but I wanted to get that stuff in front of you. I did talk with Anthony this morning, and they had some minor just tweaks or comments on there, but nothing really substantially was gonna change from the drafts I gave you. So when you have a chance, take a look at that stuff. The power purchase agreement, I mean, there's a lot there. So if you've got some questions on some of the technical stuff or how some of that works, please reach out to me so we can kind of work through that stuff and get your questions answered. I also provided you guys a draft of a potential rate tariff or a different rate class for a customer like that. So make sure, as you look through there, if there's some things you have concerns about or some things that maybe aren't clear to you, make sure you can reach out to me so that we can talk about differentiating the customer classes, because that's going to be important from a policy standpoint, that you guys feel comfortable creating a rate class for any type of customer that could fit into those type of criteria and how that would be handled. I'm anticipating then hopefully getting something to you for the September commission meeting, but I did let him know if he's getting held up with the sale of the land as he talks with the seller, because they were supposed to have land purchased by Monday. So he was gonna have to go back and talk with the seller about one more extension on the land purchase. I said, if you're running into an issue where he doesn't give you another month or 45 days and he only gives you 2 weeks, you need to let me know that so that I can talk with the board about having a special meeting to get the contract signed, because the land is contingent upon it getting permitting or conditional use permit through the city, and then also entering into the PPA agreement with HUC. So there's 2 components that are contingent. So just wanted to let you know if I hear something, hopefully you guys will have a little bit of ability to make a special meeting work if needed. So, but I'm anticipating getting the contracts back here in the not too distant future that are signed, so I'll work with him this week. But everything seems to be moving forward. I think there's been some conceptual drawing of the stuff that's been sent, so working on that. I did send you something on the sustainability committee. If any of you guys have interest on sitting on that, please let me know. I think they're starting to look to bring it back in September. And I think having some HUC representation on that would be good. Certainly I can't sit on it anymore, but because of the types of conversations and topics they talk about, having some representation from HUC on there that is part of a lot of those realms, I think would be important. So if you guys, anyone has interest and can make that work, let me know, and I can certainly let the staff know down there. Working through the prepaid contract. Ken ran into some conversation points on that contract, so we're optimistic that it's going to come back here in September. So we're going to be drafting up some comments on that prepaid deal and working through that with the Washington DC attorney and eventually MCE on there. So I don't quite feel comfortable with some of the provisions in there. I just want to make sure I understand some of the risk or lack of risk that we would have, so I'm not anticipating it coming in September, maybe October, but we haven't had those conversations, but we'll kind of keep those things moving.
But items that you think can be worked on?
I do. I think it's really going to depend on how flexible JP Morgan Chase is going to be with rewording some of that. There just really seems to be a little bit more risk for every utility if volumes, if people can't take their volumes, or if they need to remarket some of the natural gas, or if JP Morgan can't fulfill their obligations, or MCE, some of that risk comes back to the utility as an upstream, a downstream, customer of that. And that's never really been in most of the prepaid deals, so we really need to understand why that dynamic is there. I've talked to them a little bit about the downstream customer of ours that are gonna be a part of our deal, which is the ethanol plant, and how some of that discount that we would be receiving would go into a custodial account, and they would use that money first if they didn't fulfill their payment obligations. I don't really like that provision because we could be out that portion of the discount, so I've asked them to think about that. Is that a deal breaker for them? Are they willing to budge on some of those things? So I just want to make sure we're in a good position. I come back to you guys and say, hey, we have no risk or very little risk relative to the prepays that we're currently in. And right now, some of those language provisions are a little bit more skewed towards the utilities or the off-takers of the prepaid gas having a little bit more exposure financially if something happens there. So as I kind of vet through that a little bit more with the other utilities, and we'll hopefully get to a point where I can bring something back to you that I feel comfortable with, but we're not quite there at this point. And then Byron and I had a conversation with New Ulm today on starting some conversations on the transportation and interconnect agreement, so at some point we'll probably have to have conversations with you guys about kind of where that original agreement, what the original intent of that agreement was, and get some thoughts and feelings on that. So that one may take a little bit more time to sift through that agreement and figure out maybe where our comfort level would be on that. So, but I'll bring that back to you guys as we kind of look at some more information. So, and then the only other thing would just be to add, did you add a new item under 8B under business?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so we want to add that. Just talk about that solar public schools.
Sure.
That's all I got.
All right, thank you, Jeremy. Agenda item 6, we have 19 policies to review and none to change. Agenda item 7, there's no unfinished business, so we'll move into new business, starting with approval of requisition 10337 to Plant 1 substation circuit breakers. Looks like you, Dan.
Yeah, we've been replacing these circuit breakers, the old 40 to 50-year-old circuit breakers at the Plant 1 and Plant 2 substations for the last 12 years or so. As they start to show problems, as it's time, as they're 40, 50 years old, but we've been, as they start to show their age, then we, pick those two and replace them. So these are the next three to be replaced at the Plant 1 substation with these new retrofit breakers from ABB. And it's 18 weeks for delivery, so just like everything, long lead times, but it's time to swap these three out. We do, not annual, but maintenance as needed, but we also have a scheduled maintenance, and they still don't respond to that. They're just mechanically wore out.
All right, sounds good. Anybody have any questions? Anybody care to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve requisition 10337 Plant 1 substation circuit breakers.
I'll second.
Motion by Troy, second by Tom. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Agenda item 8A is approved. Added item for new business 8B is today discussion on solar arrays being put on public buildings.
Do you want to talk about it? You want me to?
Doesn't matter.
Go ahead.
Oh, wait, you'll be helping me.
Yeah, you had more conversation than so.
We met with EMS, Energy Management Solutions today, and there's a funding opportunity, a grant opportunity for solar on public buildings. So what it is basically is you get up to 70% of the cost of it covered through a state grant and 30% through a federal IRA direct pay. Basically, it's any building that we own that's metered separately, we can put up to a 40K system, and at a max cost of $160,000 is the max cost on that. The average cost is around 95,000 for a 40K system. But if there's any upgrades or things need to be done to the building or to the ground where you want to mount these, that can be added in as well. So basically, we gotta get the applications in. If we want to pursue this, we have signed an agreement with EMS Partners, or excuse me, EMS Solutions. And they'll do the application for us. We just supply a little information on each building and then what the usage is and what size solar array. And then go through the application. If we get selected for the grant, then we move ahead with the project. We, as utilities, have to pay up front, and then we get reimbursed through the state in, I guess they called it, progress payments,
Right.
as the progress moves on. And then once the once the project is complete, then we can go to the federal side for the 30%. Our only risk really is probably 30% from the federal side, of the not getting 100% paid for it. But if we don't get selected or don't get that grant, we don't have a project. And EMS only gets paid if there's a project. And their fees are included in the grant funding.
So what is the selection process? How do they decide, or?
It's a first come, first serve
Oh.
as of now. He's basically, there's about 200 slots is what they're estimating.
Okay.
Each utility or city can submit as many as they want to. We have the ability to select 4 sites. We have 4 buildings, basically. Only one of which we could fit the full 40 kW on. The other 3 buildings are not as much usage, so it'd be a smaller sizes.
Does that, like maintenance wise, the grant cover maintenance issues down the road, or is that?
No, it's a one-time payment for the installation, and
That's
the
it.
maintenance would be on us.
So what kind of maintenance are you looking at?
I can refer to our existing solar that we have today, that we put in 21. Basically, the biggest maintenance is on the breakers and the inverters. The panels they're just gonna operate.
Yeah,
The
right.
panels aren't gonna be the issue. It's gonna be on the inverter, converting that energy to AC.
How long do those last?
Well, the panels are probably 25, 30 years with a little degradation.
Sure.
Inverters,
It's a gamble.
we're hoping for 25,
Yeah.
but we're having issues with one inverter now, and it's only been 4 years, so.
What's an inverter cost?
The inverter we have, this size out here is $10,000, but that's a larger inverter. These smaller systems, I don't even know, but it's much less.
Sure.
How many converters, I was just thinking when you talked, how many converters would be on
Each system would have one.
each one converter on each?
So if we got 4 buildings, it's 4 inverters, if I'm understanding.
Would be my
On
assumption.
that small scale.
On a
And you-
small scale, so maybe like 5,000.
Yeah, I would imagine better or less.
So when you say our buildings, do you mean just HUC or is the
Just
city
HUC.
interested also?
Well, that's our next conversation with the city, because
I got an email this afternoon about this program, so.
Yeah.
Dave's looked at some of the
So
city.
you're all
roads.
in?
Yeah. so-
You guys have some good candidates for the program. Where the funding's coming from is they moved $14.5 million out of Excel Energy's territory. It was a program for them, and they can't utilize all the funding, so they've pulled that money out of Excel territory and put it into the outstate government and tribal country. So they've got the money, and so that's why it's a first come, first serve. Within Excel territory, they had a criteria where it was geared towards tax capacity and demographics and areas, but now this money that's to the outstate, the money's gotta be, you have to have it submitted by November 14th to 15th, and you have to start the project in some capacity by the end of the year, so they've got the money that they wanna push out, so that's why and this money just got reallocated 3 weeks ago, so now it's starting to roll out, and
What kind of power generation are we looking at?
So, from our buildings here,
Yeah.
look at the output, well, we have to size it according to our usage of the building,
Mhm.
or up to 120% of that usage.
Okay.
So, we only have the warehouse over here, very low usage,
Mhm.
so we'd only be able to put about a 3 to 5 kW system on there, which is very small. The inventory building, we could probably put close to a 15 on that. And then this building, we could do 40. This is the largest building we have, obviously. And then our cold storage is attached over there.
Mhm.
to the east of us, we could put maybe 25 on there. So we would have 4 systems, not all 40 kW though, they'd be smaller.
Mhm. Okay.
Largest we could go, because you can only go up to 40, but you can only go up to 120% of the building's usage in a year.
What would be the total investment on that installed?
Well, we were just going by that average of 95,000 for a 40 kW system. We could put on about 85 kW, so I'm assuming about $250,000.
Is there any kind of financial benefit as far as a tax break or anything like that?
Well, so that's the piece of this program. I mean, the
Yeah.
tax break for us is that we get the solar paid for.
Right.
For sure, the 70%, if we get it, the 30, they say the money's already at the IRS waiting to be distributed.
Mhm.
But we have to be comfortable knowing that, hey, maybe we don't get the federal money and we're 30% into it. So if you use 200,000 or 250,000, you know, we may have 60 to 75,000 in if we don't get the IRA money from the federal direct tax.
Which is
for the
still a
85
very
kW
good investment.
system.
Yeah.
Right. It seems.
Right. So we'd have to be comfortable, I mean, so we talked about with EMS, if we don't get the project, you know, is there some consulting fees that we have to pay? And, you know, they've said, no, if you don't get the project, we don't get paid, it's only, we get paid if you get approval. We would just have to be comfortable, you guys would be comfortable moving forward with that and putting some up if we get the application, so we would have to upfront 250,000 over probably the next year.
What kind of return are we looking at?
Depends on how much is ultimately our cost.
Sure.
If it's 100% paid for, you know, what, between the 3-4 buildings, we're thinking our savings.
About between $500 and $5,500 a year on our energy cost.
That we're saving or
That we
we're
would
getting
save.
back?
That we're saving,
Okay.
assuming that we get it 100% paid for.
Yeah.
Sure.
But ours is gonna be a little bit less of a savings, because what we're paying for is just the wholesale energy. The city, where they're paying retail rates, or they got small general, they're gonna be, there's a more energy savings
Better benefit there.
expenses, better for them.
Do we install that then, or just send out a third party to do that?
It's 100% turnkey installed, that's all included, yeah.
Okay, that's including that cost. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
What happens is if we're selected with the grant, there's 4 approved vendors for this program. So they'll go out and get quotes from those 4, or get bids from those 4 vendors, and then they help select the right panels, the right inverters, the right stuff to install, and then they take care of all of that.
Okay.
Yeah. And they're already approved, there's no full process, bid process, it's already been approved.
Sweet.
So I think the objective here is to kind of give Jeremy some feedback, and if you want him to move forward with it, I think the sooner that they know, the better, if they're going to do it, to get that application in, so it's.
I would be 100%. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
I would be foolish not to.
Yeah.
Regardless of what the infrastructure is, if it could potentially be 0 cost,
Right.
I don't know why you pass that
I
on.
think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Dave, did they say what the progress payment payback, how that would be structured, what
Basically, it's,
timeline?
once the project starts, and if we have to make a payment, we then submit that payment, within 30 days, we should be reimbursed.
Oh,
as-
okay.
As it
So it's-
progresses, so if the contractor, vendor invoices us.
Yep.
Once we pay that invoice, we can submit for payment back on that.
Oh, that's,
It's just progress payments, they figure 30 days, again, the state side, the 30%, once the project is complete, it's about 6 months after
Okay.
that.
For the federal
For
dollars.
the federal
Yeah.
side, excuse me,
Yeah.
the federal,
I
apologize.
think everybody just needs to be okay with what I would consider the worst-case scenario, and
Mhm.
that's only getting 70% of it covered, which is still.
That-
Even at that, you're looking at a 5-year or something. I don't know how long the payback would be on it, but
Because I think that the temperature towards these types of projects has definitely changed at the federal level,
Mhm.
so that could change at
Yes,
any
it is-
time.
it is
Exactly.
changing. Yeah.
I've worked with the state on other projects where you get reimbursed like this, and they're very easy to work with, and I've never had an issue with that, so I wouldn't expect we'd have issues with the state.
That's kind of where I'm at as well. I don't think the state will be an issue for us. It'll be the federal that we need to be comfortable with. Because I'd ask that question, how confident are you that we're gonna get the federal money back?
And, you know, if you pay 30% for the cost of a project, that's, in my mind, still a very good investment.
right, I agree.
But it sounds like the city,
Yeah, I think we're interested. I mean, we haven't talked, this is kind of hearing about it right now, but I don't know why we wouldn't be interested in it, so.
I sent a bunch of information out to Mike today, and then we're hoping that if we move ahead, we'll probably have him come out next week, as early as next week, so we can talk and I can introduce, we can go from there.
So keep going down that path.
So I assume we're all comfortable?
Yep.
Yes.
I'd say move forward with it then.
Okay. Sounds good, thank you. Sorry for springing it on you, but.
No, it's part of it, so. These kind of things come up like that, and it's a good thing, so. All right, 8B is discussed. I guess the only last thing to do is to adjourn unless anybody else has anything to add.
I motion to adjourn.
Motion by Tom,
Second.
second by Troy. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Then we are adjourned.